Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we're going to discuss Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 20. It has a very powerful message that we can take advantage of. Can you hear me clearly? The sound looks very soft. Who's in charge? Hare Krishna. So all of you have the Bhagavatam on your smartphone. Prasaṅgam, ajaraṁ, pāśam, ātmanaḥ, kavayo, viduḥ, sādhuṣu, kṛto, mokṣa-dvāram, apāvṛtam, prasaṅgam, ajaraṁ, pāśam, ātmanaḥ, kavayo, viduḥ, sādhuṣu, kṛto, mokṣa-dvāram, apāvṛtam, prasaṅgam, ajaraṁ, pāśam, ātmanaḥ, kavayo, viduḥ, sādhuṣu, kṛto, mokṣa-dvāram, apāvṛtam, prasaṅgam, ajaraṁ, pāśam, ātmanaḥ, kavayo, viduḥ, sādhuṣu, kṛto, mokṣa-dvāram, apāvṛtam. Mataji.
Prasaṅgam ajaraṁ pāśam. ātmanaḥ kavayo. Sa eva sādhuṣu kṛto. mokṣa-dvāram apāvṛtam. prasaṅgam ajaram pāśam ātmanaḥ kavayo viduḥ sādhuṣu kṛto mokṣa-dvāram apāvṛtam.
Synonyms, word for word meaning. Prasaṅgam, attachment. Ajaram, strong. Pāśam, entanglement. ātmanaḥ, of the soul. Kavayaḥ, learned man. Viduḥ, know. Sādhuṣu, that same. Sādhuṣu, to be devotees. kṛtaḥ, applied. Mokṣa-dvāram, the door of liberation. Apāvṛtam, open. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Purport. Here it is clearly stated that attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage and conditioned life, and the same attachment, when applied to something else, opens the door of liberation. Attachment cannot be killed, it has simply to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness, and attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the platform of attachment. It is clearly stated here that when we simply purify the consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, we attain liberation. Despite the statement that one should give up attachment, desirelessness is not possible for a living entity. A living entity by constitution has the propensity to be attached to something. We see that if someone has no object of attachment, if he has no children, then he transfers his attachment to cats and dogs. This indicates that the propensity for attachment cannot be stopped. It must be utilized for the best purpose. Our attachment for material things perpetuates our conditional state, but the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or His devotee, is the source of liberation. Here, it is recommended that attachment should be transferred to the self-realized devotees, the sadhus. And who is a sadhu? A sadhu is not just an ordinary man with a saffron robe or long beard. A sadhu is described in Bhagavad Gita as one who has unflinchingly engages in devotional service. Even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, if one simply has unflinching faith in Krishna, the Supreme Person, he is understood to be a sadhu. Sadhur eva sa mantavya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 30. A sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize Brahman or spiritual perfection, his attachment should be transferred to the sadhu. or devotee. Lord Chaitanya also confirmed this. Lava matra sadhu sange sarva siddhi hai. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 54. Simply by a moment's association with a sadhu, one can attain perfection. Mahatma is a synonym of sadhu. It is said that service to a Mahatma or elevated devotee of the Lord is dvāram ahur vimukte, the royal road of liberation. Mahat sevam dvaram ahur vimuktes tamo dvaram yushitam sangi sangam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 2. Rendering service to the materialist has the opposite effect. If anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by association with such a person, the door to hell is opened. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord, because if one associates with a sadhu, the result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshipper, and a sincere servitor of the Lord. These are the gifts of a sadhu. If we want to associate with a sadhu, we cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition. But he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of the contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of associating with a sadhu. Kapila Muni first of all instructs that the path of liberation begins with such association. Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna. You can hear the purport clearly. Om Ajnānatimirandasya Jnānanjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna Hare prasaṅgam ajaram pāśam ātmanaḥ kavayo viduḥ saeva sādhuṣu kṛto mokṣa-dvāram apāvṛtam. So Lord Kapila there is addressing his mother. What was his mother's name? She knew that her son is the incarnation of God. Because when he was in the mother's womb, Brahmaji had given her that knowledge. So Devahuti actually, being the Lord's mother, is also liberated. For our benefit, she is asking a very simple question. Can you hear me in the back clearly? On the right side? So Devahuti, in the earlier verses, has inquired. She said, I am in a very miserable condition. You are my transcendental I. Please instruct me how I can free myself from the miseries of life. This was her question. Just like Arjuna said, I was so surrendered to you, please guide me. So devotee is also telling her son, please guide me. You are my transcendental I. That means you have full transcendental knowledge and I can benefit from that knowledge. And Kapila Dev in response said, Bhakti Yoga is a medium through which you can attract the Lord. And Bhakti Yoga is based on the principle of knowledge and renunciation. On the one hand, we have to obtain knowledge. Without spiritual knowledge, you can't practice renunciation. That's why attending Bhagavatam class or reading Bhagavatam is very important. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhagavati naistaki. By regularly hearing the Bhagavatam, what's inauspicious in the heart will be destroyed. And when the inauspicious things are destroyed, what happens? What gets established? What gets established? Devotional service. When the inauspicious things get washed off, devotional service is established. So, Kapila Deva explained that one should cultivate spiritual knowledge. And spiritual knowledge, at one time, the disciples would live with the Guru in the ashram, and the Guru would instruct. But now, due to modern means, people are preaching all over the world. But still, the principle of obtaining knowledge is important. We obtain knowledge by hearing and reading. Just like we encourage people to read Prabhupada's books. So when you read these books, you develop spiritual knowledge. Just like Bhagavad Gita says, Raja Vidya Raja Kuyam. And when you have genuine knowledge, then you can practice renunciation. Without knowledge, you can't practice genuine renunciation. You see, sometimes people renounce and then they come back to their old activity. So there must be genuine knowledge. So, Kapila Deva has made the point that through the path of devotional service, one can get attachment to the Lord. And by cultivating knowledge, we are able to develop the mode of renunciation. Now, after describing that, Kapila Deva is, in the present verse, giving us a very important message. From this text to the next 8 verses, all are very, 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 very important. Because in these 8 verses, Kapila Deva is emphasizing from different angles the importance of spiritual association. Over here, Kapila Deva is saying, every learned man knows that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement. So attachment for the material means attachment to material activities, attachment to material goals, attachment to material activities. So attachment has to be there, either be positive or negative. Is that true? You can't live without attachment. And some type of attachment to be there. And Prabhupada in the purport explains that those who do not have positive attachment, those who have negative attachment, what do they get attached to? Dogs and cats. These days it's very common to see people walking and living cats and dogs. And we firmly believe in protection of animals. So we are happy if animals are protected. But the principle here is attachment. We get so attached to dogs and cats that we forget the need for liberation. And the attachment to dogs especially, as you all know, is so intense. Go for a walk to any park, you'll find 90% of the people walking with a dog. And invite them to do service in the temple, they won't. But they don't mind cleaning up on the dogs after they evacuate. And now, in the days of liberalism, the animals are getting more and more preference. When I was in the States last week, 3 weeks ago, the devotees told me that now in their company, the proprietors have decided that one day a week you can bring your dog to office also. That's a new development. One day a week you can bring your dog, and the company has earmarked a specific area where dogs will be taken care of. So, attachment, not engaged in positive activity, results in negative attachment. So, Prabhupada says, attachment cannot be killed. It simply has to be transferred. Prabhupada named our society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And Prabhupada used to say many times, we don't say stop your activities, just change your consciousness. Instead of doing something for your own pleasure, do it for the pleasure of the Lord. So, attachment for the material is a cause of bondage. What does bondage mean? Getting attached to the cycle of birth and death. Because of material attachment, the living entity gets stuck in material existence. Lord Rishadev gave very valuable instructions in the 5th canto. And he says, Nunam prapate kṛte vikarma. Those who engage in vikarmic activities, which are against the laws of God, they are simply mad. You may say, why? Because they are engaging in activities which will give them nothing but a material body. And material body is a source of nothing but trouble. So Kapila Dev is sending us a very important message. He is making the point, you cannot kill attachment. If you can't have positive attachment, then you'll continue with your negative attachment. And when you continue with a negative attachment, it means you continue with your ritual activity. And people are so attached to so many things that they're willing to do anything to fulfill these attachments. So ritual attachments are the cause of bondage. Ritual attachments are the cause of repetition of birth and death. Ritual attachments only lead to trouble and nothing but trouble. And most of us are born in ignorance, and consequently we develop ritual attachment. But Kapila Dev was saying, the same attachment, when applied to self-realized devotees, opens the door for liberation. In other words, one attachment causes bondage, and the other attachment causes liberation. So in a series of verses, Kapila Dev is going to be explaining the importance of spiritual attachment. So, how do you transfer from material attachment to spiritual attachment? How does that happen? How does it happen? How does the process begin? The process begins, obviously, with spiritual association. You come in contact with a saintly person. The saintly person gives you knowledge. And what knowledge does he give you? He gives you knowledge which is based on the scripture. Guru Sadhu Shastra. The Guru repeats what the previous sadhus have said. And the previous sadhus, what have they said? What is in the Shastra? And what is the meaning of Shastra? Words of God. And what is the value of words of God? No flaws, no mistakes, nothing imperfect, it is perfect. Therefore, you can read the Bhagavatam every day and not get tired. You can read the Gita every day and not get tired. You can chant the holy names every day and not get tired. So, Kapila Dev is saying, we should get attached to saintly people. And if you get attached to saintly people, then you also have the right knowledge. That is very important, developing the right knowledge. Attachment should not be sentimental. Sometimes we have sentimental attachment to saintly people. That means we are attached, but I won't do what he says. And what is the value? So, attachment to saintly people has value if you're ready to do what he says. If you're not ready to do, then it has no value. So Prabhupada in the purport is recommending association with a sadhu. Now who is a sadhu? That's important to understand. Many of us think that anyone with saintly robe becomes a sadhu. Prabhupada used to tell us that his father, Gormon Day, who was just a middle-class cloth merchant, he was very fond of serving sadhus. He would regularly host sadhus, and he did not discriminate who was qualified, who was not qualified. He would just take care of everyone. But, as Prabhupada says in the purport, the sadhu is one, not a man with a saffron robe, but one who has the qualities, one who has certain qualities, one who himself is leading an exemplary life. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, a sadhu, by his behavior, must convey the meaning of religious principles. In other words, a sadhu has to be exemplary. If he's not exemplary, then how can one preach? People will say, oh, this man is not exemplary. Say something, does something. There was once a mother who had a son who had very high diabetes. And the son was also very attached to eating sweets. And anyone knows, if you have diabetes, you have to give up eating sweets. So, mother would tell the son every day, stop eating sweets, you're killing yourself. But he wouldn't stop. So he said, okay, I'm going to take you to the Guru. So she dragged him to the Guru. Guruji, this boy has such high diabetes, he won't stop eating sugar. And the Guru said, so she said, please order him not to eat sweets for his benefit. The Guru said, come back in 2 weeks. So the mother went back in 2 weeks. And the Guru told the boy, don't eat sweets, it's bad for your health. You're a young boy, stop eating sweets. And the boy said, okay Guruji, I'll follow your order. So the mother was shocked. The Guru said one word and he stopped. Oh, she was wondering, why did the Guru not tell the boy this instruction when they came the last time? So she asked the Guru, Guruji, why didn't you give him the same instruction 2 weeks ago when I came? And the Guru said, 2 weeks ago, I was eating sugar myself. So how could I tell him? Now I'm given up eating sugar, so I can't tell him. So the point is, that a sadhu is one who is recognized not by his uniform, but who is recognized by his qualities. And Kapiladev explains the qualities. What did he say? Titikshva karunikaha sudha sarvadainam vajita sattva sadhu sadhu bhushana. A sadhu must be very tolerant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized tolerance is a major virtue. Krishnadas Kavayaḥ says, this third verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the third verse? Anyone knows it? The third verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is so important. We should hang it around our neck so that we can always remind ourselves of the importance of this. So a sadhu, one of his qualities is very tolerant. In material existence, honor, dishonor, victory, defeat, loss and gain are common features. The sadhu should be undisturbed. Karunikaha. What does karunikaha mean? Merciful. How do you exhibit real mercy? You exhibit real mercy by preaching. You exhibit real mercy by becoming Krishna conscious. If you become Krishna conscious, then you can preach. If you don't become Krishna conscious, what are you going to preach? There's so many so-called sadhus who won't let their followers do anything. So karunikaha means merciful. And as Prabhupada said, real mercy is giving people knowledge of God. Prabhupada was once giving a lecture in Rishikesh. And as some of you may know, you may have noted in his lecture, he would speak very strongly, and sometimes he would even use words like fools and rascals, which is there in the Gita also. So there was one American lady in the audience. She says, Swamiji, a sadhu should not speak so boldly, and he should not say so boldly. And he used words like fools and rascals. Prabhupada said, when you have a boil with pus in your hand, what do? Blow over the boil or press the boil to get the pus out? What do? Press the boil to get the pus out. So Prabhupada says, sadhu has to preach strongly. Prabhupada said, lamb at home and a lion outside. Once a devotee asked Prabhupada, how can I be humble and preach at the same time? Because obviously when you go to preach, you meet opposing views, you meet individuals with different crazy ideas. So how do you deal with them? So Prabhupada said, if you're just humble, then people will walk all over you. So that the devotee won't, how can I be humble and preach at the same time? The Prabhupada said, be a lamb at home and a lion outside. When you go to preach, become a lion. And when you're dealing at home with Vaishnavas, be a lamb. But don't become a lion at home and a lamb outside. That's dangerous. Most of us are ready to fight at home. But when it comes to preaching, we become timid. We don't know what to say. So, sadhu knows real mercy means giving people knowledge of God. Sudha sarvadhina. He's friendly to everyone. He doesn't believe in dividing society into friends and enemies. Prahlad Maharaj was the son of a king. He wasn't from a pauper's background. And Prahlad's father had instructed his teachers, Sanda in America, teach my son diplomacy, which is normal for a king. And so they, Sanda in America, started preaching about diplomacy, friends and enemies. And Prahlad said, I'm not interested in this knowledge. Everyone is my friend. No one is my enemy. So a sadhu doesn't surrender to the present system and society in which we have friends and enemies. To him, everyone is his friend. Even if somebody criticizes him, he's still his friend. Not that someone says something negative, we become his enemy. Sudha sarvadaina. Vajada sarva santa. He is inimical to none. In other words, a sadhu should be very gentle in his dealing. And he is friendly to everyone. He is inimical to none. And he abides by the scriptures. So, Kapila is saying, we don't say, don't have attachment. Just like we don't say, if you come to Krishna consciousness, you don't do any activity. Sometimes people think, if I come to Krishna consciousness, I won't have to do anything. Krishna doesn't say that. What does Krishna say? Tasmāt sarveshu kaleshu mama anusmara yudacha. With your mind and intelligence dedicated to me, Arjuna, fight. What does fight mean? Do your duty. You're a Kshatriya, so he had his duty. Society should be divided into 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. The Brahmanas are compared to the head of the body. Just like the head is the most important part of the body, the Brahmanas are most important members of society. They guide the king also. Any other Kshatriyas, they fight on religious principles. And it's their duty to protect the women folk, old people and children. And they are compared to the arms of the individual. The Vaishyas are compared to what? The belly. And their job is to take care of cows and agriculture. The cow is one of our mothers. And the Vedic process is the cow must be protected. These days, veganism has become very popular, am I right? We're opening a vegan restaurant in Moscow. So veganism has become very popular. Is that right? Yes. The good thing about veganism is they're against meat eating. And I was recently told that last year in America, meat consumption went down by 4%. So that's good. Less animals are being slaughtered. So the positive thing about veganism is you stay away from animal products. But the negative thing is Don't take milk. Don't take cow products. Our sages used to live on milk. And Prabhupada used to say, cow's milk results in good intelligence. And if you say, no milk products, that is the other extreme. So our whole Vedic philosophy is based on cow's milk. So, anyway, I know within ISKCON also there's some strong supporters of veganism. So, we acknowledge the positive side. Our problem is just with the negative side. Okay. So, a sadhu must have quality. So, a sadhu is inimical to none. The Vaishya, he protects the cow. The real mother that gives you birth is one of your mothers. Then the nurse that brings you up is another mother. The wife of the king is another mother. The wife of the guru is another mother. The wife of the brahmana is another mother. And Mother Earth supplies everything, isn't it? Maya dakshena pragati suyate in my direction. If you don't follow the laws of God, what does Mother Earth do? What does it do? It goes on strike. And Mother Earth goes on strike. It's heavy retaliation. And what's the result of retaliation? Heavy suffering. Just like the world is running out of water these days, especially in countries like India. The situation is very critical. The groundwater levels have gone so deep that you can never extract all water. So why did this happen? Because we're not following the laws of God. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, food grains are the result of what? Sacrifice. Sacrifice is the result of yajna. Yajna means following religious principles. If you don't do yajna, material nature won't cooperate. Just like in the Bhagavatam you read about King Vena. He was godless. He burned the houses of the Brahmanas, stopped all types of worship, accused the Brahmanas they are acting like prostitutes because I am providing you everything and you're not worshipping me. So what happened? The seas became dry. The oceans became dry. There was no food. There was no water. Can you live with that? In Kali Yuga you'll see, as time advances, Prabhupada said that in a lecture, you'll see clouds, but there'll be no rainfall. I saw that myself this year. They had forecasted rainfall. The clouds were there, still there was no rain. And as Kali Yuga advances and people become sinful, you will only have stones left to eat. And I don't want to scare you, but that is the prediction. So, a Vaishya, he takes care of cows and agriculture. But the Vaishya, a real Vaishya knows that if I want success, I must do yajna. Just like in the famous Govardhan Leela story. Nand Maharaj, what was he? A farmer? He was a farmer. He had 900,000 cows. Can you imagine 900,000 cows? How much space must be required? And these cows were not ordinary cows. Many of them gave flavored milk. Can you visualize cow giving flavored milk? They were able to give flavored milk because they would be fed with flavored grass. And so Nand Maharaj was preparing to do his annual Indra Yajna. And the Lord, who was a young child of 4 years old, asked his father, "What are you doing? What is the sacrifice for?" Initially the father didn't reply. But when the son persisted, the father said, "You know we are farmers. Being farmers, we are exclusively dependent on Indra's mercy, which means we should get rain. And if we don't do this yajna, you won't get rain." So that is the principle that the Bhagavad Gita says. Food grains come from rainfall, and rainfall means performing religious duties. And then the Sudra is compared to the leg of the body. Just like the legs support the whole body, the Sudra supports the whole society. So, a sadhu, or saintly person, the Kapila Deva is talking about, must have the quality that we just outlined briefly. And what does it mean getting attached to a sadhu? Getting attached to a sadhu means getting attached to his instruction, getting attached to his teaching, not just associating without listening. So if we listen, then association will have value. So the scriptures talk about spiritual association. In that famous verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is the famous verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita on this theme? Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha. Lava Mata Sadhu Sangha Sadhu. Lava Mata means a fraction of a second. We saw how Prabhupada went to Soviet Union in 1971. Prabhupada first established Krishna consciousness in America, Canada. Then it spread to different parts of the world. At that time, the world was divided into two blocks, the communist bloc and the non-communist bloc. I don't know if you all remember. So, the communist bloc was by and large atheistic. But Prabhupada was worried, how are we going to save these people from the communist bloc? So he got an invitation to go to the former Soviet Union. Prabhupada had deputed his various disciples to make inroads into that country. So finally he got an invitation from a professor called Professor kṛto. You all must have read about him. I met him many times. So Professor kṛto gave Prabhupada an invitation. And Prabhupada was there for how many days? Just for 4 days, 5 days. In 5 days, he completely converted one Russian devotee to Krishna consciousness. He initiated him, told him how to wear dhoti kurtas, told him what to preach, where to preach, what to cook. He even taught him cooking in his hotel room. Prabhupada was living in a hotel in a small room. And he trained him up so that with the instruction, start to preach. And after Prabhupada left, after 5 days, he started to preach. And slowly, Krishna consciousness spread to every corner of Soviet Union. So this is the result of spiritual association. And when Prabhupada came to the West, there were so many editions of Bhagavad Gita. It did not produce any result. But Prabhupada never deviated. Prabhupada had translated the Gita once before when he was residing in Calcutta. But at that time, Prabhupada didn't have the resources to publish the Bhagavad Gita. And finally he met someone who was ready to look into financing the Gita printing. When he went back to his home, he discovered that the manuscript had been sold in the form of old paper. I mean, as some of you may know, it's common in India to sell newspapers and papers. So Prabhupada then translated the Gita again. When Prabhupada came to America in 1965, after ISKCON was established in 1966, he wanted to get the Gita published. So he sent 2 or 3 of his disciples, Brahmana and Rama, to all the different publishers. And they would see the manuscript and say, oh, there's too much bhakti in it. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna always. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. So devotees came back to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, the publishers are ready, but they say you must reduce the mention of Krishna and bhakti. You're mentioning bhakti and Krishna too many times. So Prabhupada said, no, we are not going to compromise. And then you know how the Gita got published? And then, even though many publishers told Prabhupada representative that there's too much mention of bhakti and Krishna, Prabhupada refused to reduce. Then at that time, Prabhupada had produced a record on a happening labor. And that record, that's that famous record where Prabhupada sings and gives a commentary on the Hare Krishna mantra. So that record was promoted in a local newspaper called the Village Voice, which was a newspaper for the hippie generation at that time. And people were invited to write, and then they would send by mail the record, and they could pay by mail. So one person who worked for Macmillan Company. Macmillan Company was a big publishing house. I believe it is still a big publishing house. So one employee of that company wanted that record. So he wrote on Macmillan letterhead envelope to our address in New York, please give me one of your records, I want to buy one. So Brahmananda, he passed away a few years ago. He saw that letter and he went to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was desperately looking for someone to publish his Bhagavad Gita. So he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, we got an inquiry from someone in the Macmillan Company. So Prabhupada was happy. So he told Brahmananda, don't send the record by mail, go personally and deliver it. So Brahmananda went personally to that company, Macmillan Company, to that individual who ordered the record. So when Brahmananda went there to meet this individual, by chance there was the editor of religious books of Macmillan Company. As you probably may know, these big publishers have editors with separate sections. Some of the editor of business books, religious books, so on. So the man introduced Brahmananda to so-and-so, the editor of our religious books. And when Brahmananda heard religious books, his eyes opened up. He said, our spiritual master has translated the Bhagavad Gita that we want to be published. And the editor said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. We published a Quran, the Bible, the Torah. We were just searching for a good copy of the Bhagavad Gita. So Brahmananda said, okay, I'll bring the manuscript back tomorrow. Brahmananda ran to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, they may be interested in publishing your Gita. And the next day they went and they agree to print the Gita as it is. So this, I just give you this example to show that a genuine sadhu does not compromise. On several occasions, Prabhupada was told, if you give these strict rules and regulations, nobody will follow. But he refused to budge. The publisher said, don't write Bhakti and Krishna so many times. He refused to compromise. So a genuine sadhu, in spite of obstacles, does not deviate from the true path. So what is being recommended here is that we take advantage of spiritual association. And we take advantage of spiritual association, which means we should be ready to listen to what is being told for our spiritual benefit. The problem in Kali Yuga is we don't want to be submissive to anyone. We don't want to hear. We just want to hear flattery. But Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, if somebody flatters you, you should be careful. Beware of flatterer. So this whole section, there are many verses, as I said, 8 verses. They are focused on one main theme, but from different angles. Just like in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the soul. He could have talked in one verse. The soul in the body, the soul doesn't die, it's eternal. But Krishna took so many verses to explain the same point. So similarly we see in the scriptures, from different angles, the same point is presented, so that it sinks into our heart. The problem is, we're so stubborn and obstinate that we don't want to listen in one stroke. So we have to keep hearing again and again. So what is being said is, the path of devotional service can be understood by the associating with the saintly person. And this association, it should be realized, comes in 2 forms, Vapu and Vani. Vapu means you're getting instructions personally. Vani means you follow the instruction. So Vapu and Vani both are important. And Vani is more important than Vapu. Why? Vapu is short term. Vani is long term. Just like Vyasadeva. He was on the planet, he gave us the instruction that we have his Vani. We have Prabhupada's Vani to guide us. And we associate with the sadhu by personally meeting him and one other avenue, by following his instructions which are in the books. Why did Prabhupada give so much importance to book distribution? Not to make a profit, because these books contain the words of the Lord explained by genuine devotees, sadhus. And when you read this, it penetrates into your heart. I know so many cases around the world of people who got attracted to Krishna consciousness just by reading Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada's books are so important that these books have brought so many people to Krishna consciousness. I don't know if I told you this story. Maybe I'm repeating it, but I'll repeat it. So I recently met somebody in Kurukshetra who said, my whole family is a devotee. I'm a devotee, my wife's a devotee, my children are devotees, everyone. So I asked him, how did you become a devotee? This man's business was repairing almaras. You know, almaras. In India, Godi's almaras and all are quite popular. His business was repairing trunks and almaras. So somebody came to give him an almara for repair, and he took everything out, but he forgot to take out 3 or 4 small books of Prabhupada. So this man, when he started repairing the almara, he found these books, which somebody had forgotten. He started reading the books. He became a devotee, convinced his wife to read the book, and the whole family became a devotee. And what was the introduction? An almara that came for repair, and by accident there was some small book. The man took everything out, but he forgot to take out 3 books. So there are innumerable examples of this type. So that's why Prabhupada says, you associate with book Bhagavad and the sadhu Bhagavad. Both are important. And if we do both, then there will be spiritual knowledge will realize. And spiritual knowledge must result in renunciation. You may have knowledge, but if you're not going to practice renunciation, what's the value? You may find in India scholars who study in Sanskrit schools and they have the whole Gita memorized. But their actions do not support what is in the philosophy. So what's the value? So therefore Kapila Deva has said, we should cultivate knowledge which must result in renunciation. Otherwise, what's the value of having theoretical knowledge? I mean, it has value, I'm not saying it has no value. But the real purpose is to translate that, and that is renunciation. So to summarize, Kapila Deva is saying, his mother wanted to know, how can I become free from the entanglement of birth and death? And the son said, my dear mother, your question is glorious. You can achieve perfection by taking to the path of Bhakti Yoga, which means knowledge and renunciation. The path of Bhakti Yoga has 2 components. One is knowledge and the other is renunciation. So Kapila Deva said, and he said, she said, well, how can I cultivate Bhakti Yoga? You're telling me Bhakti Yoga is the solution, but how do I cultivate Bhakti Yoga? You're going to drop from the sky? And in reply, Kapila Deva said, associate with a saintly person. And then he explains the qualities of a saintly person also. And he says, by practicing the instructions, you can develop spiritual knowledge. And if you associate with a saintly person, the saintly person will remind you again and again the importance of spiritual life. Like many times in our temples, devotees have a certain phenomena. I will only go to the class if some senior devotee is preaching. It's like when you go to the movies, you want to know who the stars are. And if there's a good star, then you go and watch the movie. What do you do? So they want to know who is the speaker. And we should go, regardless who the speaker is, as long as the speaker is going to give you Krishna's message. He may be repeating it like a parrot, but that doesn't matter. As long as somebody is giving you the pure message, we should hear. Then the pure message is, Krishna is supreme. Bhoktanam yagyatapusam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Sura sarvabhutanam gyata mam sandhya rachati. Krishna is the real enjoyer. He is the proprietor. And what else? One more thing. He is our well-wisher. We must recognize that we have only one real well-wisher. And that is Krishna and his representative. Just like Thakur Bhaktivinoda in the Jeev Jago prayer says, Ami bina bandhu na hai ke ache tumhara. except for me. You have no other real friend. Most friends in Kali Yuga are fair weather friends. You know what's a fair weather friend? When the riding is good, he's with you. When it gets tough, he says bye-bye. So, Krishna is the proprietor, the enjoyer, and our well-wisher. And if you recognize he's our well-wisher, then you accept all his instructions also. Krishna says, Sarva dharma parisajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva apāvṛtam mokṣa-dvāram. He said, give up all varieties of religion and surrender to me. So this doesn't mean, as we explained the other day, you give up Islam, give up Christianity and become a Vaishnava. It means engage your mind in serving me. Engage your senses in serving me. Engage all your abilities in serving me. You have possessions, think that I'm the real owner. So to understand that Krishna is a real bhokta requires a lot of guts. You may say, yes, most of us pay lip service. Yes, everything belongs to Krishna, but that but is the obstacle. But Krishna says, surrender to me truly. So in genuine spiritual association, you get genuine knowledge. And if you practice genuine knowledge, there will be renunciation. And if there is renunciation, it means you're advancing spiritually. And when you're advancing spiritually, what does it mean? I have a taste for the holy name. My taste is increasing. I don't have to be forced to chant. I don't need somebody standing on my head. Come on now, you chant. And I'm getting attached to the scriptures. We're developing humility and the mood of service. So these are some of the symptoms that are manifested when you're making spiritual progress. So Kapila Dev is reminding us that we should make an effort to follow the instructions. Hare Krishna.